Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Talked Before. This time, Datalore. Yeah, they're already name-dropping characters in the show, putting them in the title. Hide and Q's coming up soon, too. This is Datalore on It's All Been Trucked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trucked Before. Your regular hosts are here.
This is Stephen.
Keith.
Jimmy-Jerome, welcome back. Keith, you missed last week. First impressions on Datalore.
I was realizing that as I got into it, that I didn't recall it as well as I thought that I did, and I was kind of mashing it up with other episodes that were going to happen later. My mind, and realized there's certain revelations yet to come.
Sure. We didn't even get to see Dr. Sung in this episode.
Oh,
Yeah. I like some of the theoretical aspects of it, the interesting aspects of Data's existence and that kind of stuff. But I like the enemy within better.
Did you know about the soon coming up later?
No.
Okay, well,
I'll forget.
He will also be played by Brent Spiner.
Oh, all right. Well, that's interesting.
God makes man in his own image. Laura's in, at least like 5 or 6 episodes, isn't he? So we'll get plenty of lore.
Okay.
Like Santa Troy, he will be a frequent guest.
All right.
My first impression is I really, really love Brent Spiner's performance. The episode itself lacks some things.
Yeah.
I don't know that I prefer it I don't know that I prefer The Enemy Within. I might prefer this, but I think they both have some weaknesses.
Sure.
Keith, did you get a chance to say your first impression?
partially, I guess. I was just saying that I'd been confusing this with other episodes later. I still liked it, but yeah, certainly there were a couple things that were bothering me toward the end, especially about the way that was playing out. Lore, the character, certainly holds up, though. I don't remember. I don't think I was into villains as much as I am now, like back when this was first on. But now, certainly, I really appreciate the way that he plays. The way the villainy comes across. Just, I think, more importantly, for the character of Data, this is the thing I was alluding to a couple of weeks ago, which was that I think the writing for Data had been too inconsistent up to this point, this early on in the series, and he's a little too wacky sometimes, a little too naive. But this seemed to play just right to me, and I think this is like the turning point for the character.
Yeah, Data was he was much more understated this time around. And I think he stays understated.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed the quirkiness, but I think for character development, it helps.
I think I do like Lore. I just don't love this episode.
Yeah.
I think...
Kind of like we were all like, we love Harry Mudd, and then we watched Mudd's Women, and we're like,
Yeah.
crap, why do we love Harry Mudd?
Yeah, maybe that's... Because, I like the idea of... Because he's one of the first people to be like, hey, you know what? It is better to have some human qualities. I mean, I shouldn't say he's the first character, because Kirk mentioned it in every friggin' episode. But he's one of the first non-humans to say, you know what? There are some pretty good aspects about it.
Yeah, Spock was all like, don't call me human.
Yeah, and everybody else was like, even Q in TNG and a bunch of other people. But so that part of it, and which I think also feeds into him being like, it's pretty good to be the bad. He doesn't say specifically, but it's good to be the bad guy. It's good to have these other feelings
I'm the
and thoughts.
bad guy.
Yeah,
But he was...
Duh.
He was certainly, it didn't really seem to admire them all that much, though. It's more like fodder.
Right.
There's that kind of, just the ruse at the beginning of, they made me more human so I could serve them. That kind of thing. He doesn't think very highly of their intellect. And they were kind of proving him right in a lot of cases, though, which is kind of...
Well, yeah, because he's super freaking obvious, and they're ignoring every warning.
Oh, I have many. I shouldn't say many notes, but I have a few notes on
That is
stuff.
my biggest problem with this episode.
That's it's the Roger Ebert, it's the slasher movie thing where it's like, if anyone in this movie was smart, the movie's over in 25 minutes. And this episode's over because
I think they could have made everybody smart and kept this episode going though, because
I think so too.
Because
but they
Lore
didn't.
is such a threat,
Right.
That they could be like, man, if we tip our hand too fast, it's gonna
Right.
And I think Data realizes that, and Data tries to stretch it out a little bit.
Well, it reminded... We both thought the same thing. It reminded me of the scene in... like Buffy's third season, the whole thing with Faith. Giles was telling Buffy, "Shut up! Don't talk to me," and just because he knew that Laura would have been in this case, Laura would have been safer to deal with if he thought he was fooling them.
Right.
And it looked like that's what they're doing. They're trying to get Wesley out of play so he'll stop announcing their...
Right, like Wesley's the dumb kid who doesn't realize you should just be quiet and wait and see.
Yeah, but apparently they didn't know. It was like, what? How could they not have known what was happening?
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's why Wesley's like, wait, how am I seeing this and you're not?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Well, so if it was one subtle thing,
right.
but it's not. It was the contractions. It was the calling him Riker instead of Commander Riker. It was the not knowing what make it so means.
Right.
It was like, oh, I just changed my mind about the off switch. It was every character got a moment where he's like, I'm Data. I'm Data. I
Right.
swear I'm Data. Please believe me, I'm Data. See, I'm wearing the uniform and he's not, so I'm Data.
Did you just say you were Lore? No.
No.
No, I think you did. I think you're mishearing me. Yeah. It's
So what I'm left wondering here is, and maybe this could explain why the quirks go away. Data does spend the whole series, but especially in these first few episodes, really trying to imitate humanity. Mm-hmm. And now he gets a taste of what he would have been like if he had come out with humanity. And I'm reminded of the absolute power corrupts. Lore has absolute power to a certain extent by a certain perspective from the beginning, and he's immediately corrupted. Whereas by the time Data finally finds his humanity, and I don't think it's a spoiler alert to tell you that's where this character's going, obviously. By the time he finally gets some of those human characteristics, he's really earned them. It's come at sacrifice, and it's taught him to be humble, it's taught him to strive, and that's a totally different perspective than just being given that. So I maybe that's why the quirks go away, because he takes it a little more seriously and understands the weight of it. I don't know. That's what makes sense to me. That's what I'm going to choose to believe, because that makes it a better character than just saying he was inconsistent and then he got consistent.
My thought of it was that Brent Spiner got to practice a lot more in this episode in particular. I think it's something about especially when you have to do a similar character, like when you're trying to get a voice right, and you have to decide what sets these two things apart, and then it kind of came together, it felt like.
I mean, Brent Spiner was amazing.
Yeah.
I would call this Emmy-worthy performance. I thought he was fantastic in both characters. I think the weakness was in the writing.
I agree.
And too heavy-handed, too overkill. Even the tick. The tick was unnecessary. You could have left the tick out of it, and it still would have gotten the same, more subtle clues. You know what I mean?
Especially since it didn't even really come to play except to... it
was something he fixed to hide his disguise.
Yeah, he did it so easily. Then it seemed like it would have been pointless to.
It's like Evil Kirk ripping the sleeve or something to match Good Kirk.
Yeah.
Do you notice the planet they were heading toward where Data came was Omicron Theta? You think Futurama? That's a reference.
Oh, is that?
I didn't know that.
Omicron
Perseus.
Yeah. If you want to hear us talk about Futurama Star Trek, you need to donate $2 to our Patreon, patreon.com/IABD, because that was our first exclusive It's All Been Tricked Before Patreon episode.
Exclusive.
And we're going to have more. Quite possibly our Imazadi discussion will be Patreon only. Yeah. We'll see. But we'll definitely have some more bonuses, at least a couple a year. Riker, from the beginning, all his non-verbal cues. He tells the ship to go and park. He also assembles a away team all without speaking.
In my mind...
I've got the ship part.
In my mind, he pointed at two people at the same time. They're like... So then when they got down to the transporter room, they both showed up and I still wasn't sure if you were pointing at me or him.
Because Worf was standing right behind you, and you're just not sure.
Wait, should we both go?
So I don't think he continues to do that. Every once in a while, he'll do a nonverbal cue. But my guess is he was trying something. And then Deanna, who does not appear in this episode, again, second one she's missed. I mean, Wesley's missed 2, and Worf's missed 1 or 2, but most of the crew hasn't missed any. But I like to think Deanna took him aside after this, and dude, it's not working. Knock it off. Knock it off.
I enjoyed it.
He's like, but Wyatt does nonverbal cues.
So there were a couple things toward the beginning that were sort of tipping me off that there might be some problems with the writing later. Just when they were down on the surface, and Data's talking about having... I have this vague memory of this sort of thing happening, or this. It feels like danger and kind of.
That
what?
makes sense.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
And just establishing that he's got 411 people's memories in it.
Yeah.
That's not something that's come up before.
That goes back to our last episode. Sorry, 2 episodes ago, where we were talking about the being able to read people's minds and handle it. Same kind of thing. You've got 411 thoughts. Are they all fighting? And then he explains, of course, that it's only certain parts.
Yeah, it's like they build a time capsule and put certain memories in him.
Yeah.
But still, that's a lot of stuff. Weakness in the writing was the way they handled Data's sneezing, which again was a funny scene. But Wesley comes and he's like, "Do you have a cold?" And Data's like, "Well, they're many reasons
Right.
people sneeze besides the cold, and it's just that, like, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. It's, he's sneezing. You don't think he's got a cold because that's not common. You think, like, he looked at the sun or something because that's more common. You know what I mean?
Well,
Leslie just jumped to the less likely explanation.
They pretty much know. They pretty much do an improv thing where it's like, "You're sneezing. Do you have cold? No. Those are all cured, so it couldn't be a cold." Blah blah blah. And then they solved the problem and they're moving on. But yeah, it seemed like because they actually mentioned we talked about the cold being cured in a previous episode. Which hey, thanks for the callback. But
I thought he was just trying to be funny, but
and
it came across that way as just something about the way.
Well, or it's like his mother just told him about colds, and I'm going to throw in this piece of information to show how clever I am.
That's possible.
A lot of people do that.
I thought maybe
young and immature.
Maybe Data could have found another. They could have found another thing for Data to be doing better than that. But
I kind of liked chew.
It wasn't.
Spiner was hilarious.
Slightly music.
Slightly.
So we know there's still an open door policy.
Yep.
Because Wes is able to just walk in on them, and then later, of course, the open door policy that covers everything on the Enterprise. When Data's like, "Oh yeah, check out everything on the ship's files. It's all right here."
My God.
Any visitor gets them, and we know, as we know through canon.
And yet, it did not include how to lock the door behind you when you go to sabotage the ship. Just saying.
See, the open door policy got lore too.
It hurts both ways.
It hurts everybody.
I liked how Wesley was the, I can't say the word because we're a clean podcast, the B-boy. That they're just like, we need somebody to go check on Data. We're not even going to use the cops. We're just going to send Wesley. Leave your station. Go talk to him. Picard just wanted him off the bridge for a minute.
Yeah. Here's a question somebody made. How did they decide whether to call him Data or Data? Because both are acceptable.
That's a great question. It would be funny if one character called him Data.
Yeah, that would.
It would be very TOS if they were using different pronunciations.
Data maybe sounds more futuristic than Data. I don't know, but I was just curious.
I like the word Data better.
It sounded like Geordie pronounced Noonien soon different than everyone else.
Yeah,
probably.
I thought he was going to say Noonien Singh.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
It sounded like he said it.
Maybe
ancestor of Khan Noonien.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, but it does bring to mind that reference, Noonien Singh, Khan Noonien Singh.
Yeah.
And he's building androids, genetically engineering. That's what gets run off for the positronic brain. I don't think it's ever established in canon that he's an ancestor of Khan, but it certainly makes sense if you think about it. Also, I didn't mention this.
Building the perfect person.
Also, I didn't mention this when we talked about Brent Spiner playing Noonien Singh. Brent Spiner will also play Noonien Singh's grandfather in an episode of Star Trek Enterprise.
Huh.
Wait. All right. So, Singh and Soon, Brent Spiner's playing. Soon is the robot guy. Singh.
Soon. Dr. Noonien Soon.
Yeah.
Singh.
No, Soon, but that's.
Oh,
Yeah.
Noonien Soon.
Soon,
Okay.
yeah.
Which sounds like Khan Noonien Singh.
Right. That's what.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
they should be related. It's got to be a reference, right?
It's got to be.
Maybe. It is a
feels
very
like
strange name to put. I mean, that is what. They were saying Union Soon.
Because when they were saying soon, I was spelling it with an H at the end, like Singh.
Oh.
But,
well, this story was written by Gene Roddenberry and Robert Lewin. Robert Lewin was a producer on TNG for a bunch of episodes. He wrote 4 episodes of TNG. Story by 3, teleplay by 2, written by 1. So this was one of his teleplay by. His one he actually wrote fully is coming up later in season 1, and all 4 of these are early episodes, but this is the first one that he wrote. But I did see Roddenberry's fingerprints on this, for sure, in some of the concepts and things.
Yeah, good and bad.
And honestly, maybe the characters figured it out sooner, and Roddenberry's like, no, nobody's gonna get it. Let's make it work. That seems like a Roddenberry thing to do.
Yep. I did like when Picard talked about humans are machines too, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a really
I like that.
good
That was
concept
a great
to introduce.
speech.
Yeah.
And I did like, again, Riker doing nonverbal, knocking on the table to be like, good work.
But I thought that was among the concepts that I really appreciated in the episode.
I did think the it was a bit too heavy-handed, though. I feel like if Picard was already at the point where he was giving that speech, he would have already been calling Laura him.
Yeah, I thought so too. Writing wise, yeah, I agree because I had the same thing. Like, well, why didn't they stop calling him it?
That bothered me from the first time it happened.
Yeah, I agree.
What about the off switch? Was it necessary or was it a convenient plot device? And then that's not even how Lore turned Data off.
Yeah,
right.
I put he had the champagne and space iocane powder.
So
Or the robot iocane powder.
Data talked about how
Lore roofied Data.
Well, Data talked about how Lore was like getting synthetic material that was similar to what built him and stuff, and I assume that's what he something involved.
Yeah,
with that.
well, yeah,
Right.
certainly. That's what.
Was how he made the drug.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just felt like the off switch was way too convenient of a thing, and like even telling Crusher, like, okay, if you're worried that this guy may need shut off, and that's why you're telling Crusher about the off switch, is Crusher the one you want to clue in, or is Worf or Yar? Well, probably Worf because Yar's a wimp that gets her butt kicked. But unfortunately, because she's the security chief, she should be better.
Right.
But you tell somebody that could like affect it. Crusher's not going to wrestle down lore.
No.
But I did get Dana's point. Like, if you had an off switch, would you want to tell?
Right, and that's more interesting than the whole rest of it, I think.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then we pretty much made the joke, for Crusher, like, because he asked her, it's like, how can she get turned off when she's so turned on? I mean, come on.
I really liked when they were putting lore together that Chief Engineer Argyle in his second and final appearance and Dr. Crusher working together on it. Yeah. I felt that was a really good way to tell us that this is a machine, but it's also
a human.
Human is a machine, blah, blah, blah. I liked that. Data's homeworld. So, again, it was the clear soundstage they keep reusing with the colored air. But also, we're in the middle of like a rocky hillscape. Like, this was farmland. I'm like, was it? You were farming on a rocky hillscape? I've never seen farmland on a rocky hillscape.
They were moisture farmers. To provide the Star Wars moment in this episode.
The little tone down in, I was like, exactly.
Okay? It looked just like it. I didn't like the planetscape, but I liked the interior when they went inside. I like that.
I liked the stone stairs. I thought that was a cool thing. Yeah. And the archway that was artificial but looked natural, the secret door.
Yeah, I like that.
That was all cool.
One of the other things from the planet at the beginning, I said that was sort of like an indicator that maybe something was going to be a little off in the writing, was just how they kept dancing around the subject of Soon being the one who constructed Data. It should have been like their first thought, like, oh my god, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And they just kept talking about positronic brains and like,
and he failed at it. Huh.
Too bad he never got it right.
I'm not looking at a positronic brain right in front of me that was built right here where he was. Isn't that odd, Data? That you were built in the same place this guy was. They can't build positronic brains. And also, he cannot mold heads apparently because until they turned lore on, that head mold looked terrible.
Yeah.
Well, it's like they heated it up and it was on. It kind of expanded. And,
That's why they had to soak it in the water.
Yeah.
Or the blue liquid, the barbershop liquid.
Yeah.
They just need to add the ears to it. I think that.
I like the refrigerator art that they had of the crystal entity and the kids did.
Yeah.
Did you really like it? Or are you being facetious?
I liked it as a refrigerator art.
Okay.
Yes.
Is the idea that Lore brought that crystal entity?
Yeah.
Right. And he killed the 411 colonists.
Yeah. So, who did the pictures?
The kids, because they had time. I mean, they had time to prepare. They had time to store memories and data and set them up.
Yeah.
The crystal identity, I think, was moving a lot faster in this episode than it had been. Well, it did 411 colonists, so it's charged up.
That appearance and the kids being in the picture and doing the art and all that, to me, harkens back to Not a Great Episode and The Children Shall Lead from the original series.
Crystal Identity also visited their planet.
Yeah, well, remember, because whatever his name was, Gorgon or whatever, he also was kind of crystally until he made his appearance, But I actually did like the crystal entity, or the Great Crystal Entity as he called it, which is, I think, a terrible band name.
It looked cool.
It did. I thought it looked really cool. Yeah, I thought visually it looked great.
Well, the fact that they were able to disassemble Lore at some point, and maybe they were holed up in a bunker or something.
Yeah.
They must have realized some danger that he presented, and then that's one of the things that seems a little choppy as far as how that all worked, the timeline of how all that worked. But
what seems most choppy to me, and granted this hasn't happened yet in the series, but what happened to B4? Where are all his parts? Why wasn't he found when they found Lore?
See, I didn't even remember that character yet. So
yeah, there's another copy of Data and Lore that was built first, and he's found later scattered on another planet. But the assumption is somebody picked him up from this planet and scattered him there. And you're like, okay, so they explored this workshop and they didn't see there was another copy.
Well, I mean, it would explain why Soon isn't there. I don't remember where they find him yet.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that Soon is still alive. I forgot that. That's a good point.
Really? Right? I thought you mentioned earlier that just...
The Data plays him, but I forgot that...
Oh.
I guess...
Oh, man.
I just assumed flashbacks.
I spoiled something.
No, because I've seen that episode, so I
know, but
I
still,
just forgot.
I like the rediscovery of certain things without like, oh my god, I forgot that. Yeah,
Do you like his nickname, Often Wrong?
Yes.
Soon?
That's what I remember from the poem, which is why I remember...
The poem's a different episode.
Yeah, and then... that's why I remember the name Soon, because of the Often Wrong. And I think I remember that episode as being the first time I heard the word cadence used, which was odd.
I thought it was very odd that Picard asked Data about his loyalty when he was so certain of it. Like, he's like, Data, this is a tough question, but I have to ask. And Data's like, well, the answer is, I'm loyal. And, like, gives that thing. And then Picard's like, I never had any doubt. And I wanted Picard to go, what I was really asking was, how do you feel about this or whatever?
Yeah.
You know, like, but not. I guess that was the question he wanted. And then Picard was like, it was almost as if, so if you have the one black friend, Data is Picard's one android friend. And on the bridge, you know, they question.
Oh, yeah.
Yar questions Data, and he's like, well, I'm certain of his loyalty, but that was a very good question. And, like, it's almost like I'm trying too hard to say that I trust Data and Data's my friend. And, but he also, I guess it's good that he wanted to make sure Yar was protected from people, like, worrying, but at the same time, you're like, Yar, you're the racist, so we gotta, you know, you don't need to protect, I don't know. I thought there were overlays of racial tension there and the, like, token stuff, tokenism. I could be wrong.
It didn't seem anything, I mean, I suppose there could be some corollary of, like, racial loyalty or something there, but I really think that it's...
It was prejudice and tokenism was what I was getting from that scene.
Maybe.
But Wesley's line about, you're fine though, there's many rules and blah, blah, blah. Oh God, that was like so overeager.
Yeah.
I get it. You're a kid. That was a kid thing to say. He was just glad to not be the logo on the totem pole anymore.
I actually like Wesley in this episode for the most part.
Yeah.
I liked him telling those guys, well, here's what's going on. No, it isn't. And to me, that I think we already alluded to it, but I think that was the worst part of the episode. Where he's like, well, we should probably check this out. Wesley, what are you thinking? It's like,
Do you think that's why Wesley waited till like the third time he tried to bring it up to explicitly say it's lore?
Right.
Because he's like, surely you guys know this. I don't need to explain it to you.
Right. I think so. I think it was just.
I mean, honestly, Wesley's role here of like finding Data and like even just having an ensign that you send down for errands, it should have been a red shirt and Lore should have killed him. Like, there's no good reason why Lore let Wesley leave that room.
Yeah. Well, he underestimated him, but still.
Well, I know he underestimated the humans throughout this episode, but Wesley made it pretty obvious he was onto him. And even Lore was picking that up. Like,
well, and I think, again, that's why Wesley's like, are you guys serious? Am I the only one? How am I... Are you all on drugs? How am I the only one noticing?
Well, Keith and I both thought for a second when Riker accompanied Wesley down the Data that Riker was playing along.
And it's, to me, it's that concept of, I'm not going to use the term I usually use, character abuse, where you take a character and you twist them just to make the episode work. Because it didn't make sense for Riker or Picard, one of them, not to be like, you know, that is weird that that's happening. Or anybody on the bridge, for that matter.
Certainly.
It's also weird that when Data, Wesley, and Dr. Crusher go to face Lore, they don't call security.
Right.
I understand they're in a hurry, but you can tap your comm badge and talk while running.
Hey, we're going to need a little help down here.
Yeah. I did kind of appreciate the difficulty Crusher was in, though, when Lore has the phaser on Wesley. And he's like, you need to leave or I'm going to hurt your son. And you're torn there because you got to protect your son, but how do you protect him if you just run away with And so I get her hesitation, and then her sleeve caught on fire, which I didn't know phasers really did that.
I just like...
it must have been on its lowest setting.
I like Laura still being enough to be like, I'm giving you going, I'm going to shoot you anyway.
He could have shot her better if he wanted to.
No, I know, but that's what I like about it. Is him just being like, oh, you know what, just for fun, I'm going to shoot you.
He just wants to
because I'm a jerk. Yeah.
I don't think you should dismiss it that soon, though. I mean, that's another thing that might be an indicator of there just being something off about the writing. Because, have there ever been other examples of phasers just causing heat? I mean, I think they've started like campfires with them.
Yeah, its lowest setting.
Yeah.
But would Data have had that, or no, Crusher? Would Crusher have had that phaser on the lowest setting when she ran to confront him, or would she have turned it up a bit?
Well, and
Lore could have adjusted it.
Shouldn't those algae uniforms be
fireproof,
flame retardant?
You know, that's a good point. So the uniforms are, but she had that lab coat on.
Is that... Well, that should be even more
that's
flame
not
retardant.
A uniform.
Yeah.
That's not a uniform.
That should be even more like...
That's something she brought from home.
She's working around Bunsen burners and stuff. She shouldn't be wearing
that.
It's
something she brought from home.
Well, no, I get that, but she should not be wearing that. That's on her.
I like it just because it gives her someplace to put her hands. Nobody else gets to put their hands in her pocket. Every scene she's wearing that coat, her hands are in the pockets. Yeah. I would want that coat.
Well, that's so she can always pull out some kind of device to shoot somebody. Or
I also really love Geordi's line in this episode about, there's a bogey coming in! Again, felt a little Star Wars, but I liked the line.
Speaking of issues with the Enterprise, still no security cameras anywhere?
No.
So
the Telosians haven't installed them yet.
The whole... And the idea of emergency close for the turbo lift, and that just, you can beat the crap out of it with it, there might be an issue there.
I mean, in the 80s, we weren't putting security cameras everywhere yet.
Well, no, that.
And Gene Roddenberry, I'm sure, would not have wanted to see a nanny state in his idyllic future.
True.
They don't need them. Everybody behaves.
I feel like the things we've seen through the first 90 episodes of Star Trek we've seen, there's a need for them.
This is 100 years later. Now they're more evolved.
Well, and shouldn't there be, if emergency closes the, shouldn't you just be
Emergency
open! Emergency open! Emergency open!
You'd think.
I mean,
why wouldn't Data use contractions or be able to if he can learn any sort of slang?
Right.
He's obviously able to learn other languages and apply them. You would think he would start with the contraction before he uses
it's a human thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, he's established. He went to 4 years of the academy.
Yeah.
Then he did at least 12 years on Starship.
Yeah.
So he's been around humans for 20 years.
I did like that concept of
Yeah.
you just bought into what they were selling you. You didn't have to do that. You didn't need that. You're better than them already. I was like, all right, I kind of like that. I guess Data was given the, there's the idea of whether it's applied to college sports or college in general. Like, well, you need those 4 years of college. No, I don't. And some would say no, and others would say, well, but I got those great experiences of socializing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't want to give that up or whatever, but I like that.
Yeah, I guess it would be important for him to go through the process and procedure at the same pace that people would.
Yeah.
I think he could graduate quicker than 4 years.
Yeah.
And I swear they mention later in canon that he graduated in 3 years. I swear they do.
I
could be wrong. But
no, I mean
he stayed around for another year to coach the Starfleet basketball team. I thought the animation inside Data's head was real bad.
Yeah.
But I liked it when he sat up and they closed it. I liked that part of it.
Yeah.
I didn't like the initial.
Did you like the lab?
Yeah.
On the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More
very much.
More detail than.
Well, I mean, and that was very what are little girls made of.
Yeah.
Down to the mold and the board they had them on, except it was upside down. But
fashion. Laura's outfit. That's the only way we
Yeah.
And we already talked about Crusher's coat.
And didn't somebody make a point of being like, I prefer you in your uniform?
I think they were just put back on your uniform.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It feels like they put the tick or the twitch in just so Picard could do that line at the end about the throwaway of implying how much he trusts Data already. He's like, yeah, I know it's you.
Yeah. Did they call? Was it? Oh no, they called Wesley the troublesome little man child, which is the name of my sex tape.
I love Lore. Again, I love Lore so much in this episode.
I did not like all that shut up Wesley.
Oh no, that was like.
And I really didn't like when Picard was like, "Doctor, follow him," and she's like, "You're kicking me off the bridge." Well, I like that she objected.
Made it, yeah.
But he's like, "I'm telling you to go watch your son,"
Yeah.
and I'm like,
that's like, yeah.
She's a senior officer. You don't know.
Yeah, it just didn't feel right, but
it felt like 1980s.
Yeah,
It did not feel like the 24th century.
That's true. Yeah.
Those shut up Wesleys, I was like convinced that this has to be them putting on a play of some sort. And I was just so they never resolved it. It was just they did the captain apology at the end, the non-apology, which was
I thought it was actually going to say I'm sorry, but it was like, nope. He's
Get back to the bridge.
Yeah. This is the best I'm going to get, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. You're not getting an apology. All right, I'll take it. It just dawned on me that these Shut Up Wesleys are very much like Shut Up Meg. By Seth MacFarlane, who we know loves TNG.
Yeah. Good point.
And all the Shut Up Megs are always in the same vein as these Shut Up Wesleys.
That's true.
They're like totally not cool.
I'm pretty sure these Shut Up Wesleys go away pretty soon.
Do they?
I don't think they last.
Right.
Do they? Am I wrong?
This feels like an anomaly. This episode feels an anomaly when we pull at it. It's just like, why would they?
Yeah. Alternate episode. They all figure it out right away. They leave him on a leash, see what he does, and then they stop him like a competent Starfleet crew. And then we go, that was the best episode all season.
Yeah.
Mine was The Enemy Within. So, yeah. The Enemy Within. Oh, I guess I have to change it. So, The Naked Time. The Enemy Within Now. That's what that would be the alternate episode.
Looking at guest stars, Lore was played by this young man named Brent Spinner. Is that right?
Spinner, I think.
Spinner. He's most famous for Star Trek The Next Generation. Oh, interesting.
I guess we'll probably see more of him. This is something we alluded to last week, but it just dawned on me that For so many episodes of when we were watching the original series, we kept saying, "Oh, Trump must have been impeached by now." It turns out,
What?
we may finally be getting close to being right.
I mean, by the time this episode goes
Yeah,
live, he probably will have been impeached.
Yeah.
He probably will still be in office.
Yeah.
But he probably will.
We were wrong all that time, but it turns out we're finally going to be right.
We're finally.
So maybe the key was when we stopped saying it.
Yeah, because this episode won't go live till the end of the year. Speaking of annoying, man, how annoying is Wesley on a scale of 1 to 10?
See, I liked him this episode.
Yeah.
I give him a 0.
I was thinking about
You
it.
can't give him a 0, you have to give him a 1.
I give him a 1.
We should have made it a 0, that was dumb of me. But now we've already established, I don't want to go back on it. I'm giving him a 5. I thought he was about peak annoyance for me. Like, I don't find him an annoying character, but he was getting on my nerves this episode. And granted, some of it was people not listening to him, but I just did not like him.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is that my rating was affected more by the way he was being used. The plot device of him was annoying because people were just they made everyone else less smart, whatever, stupider as a result, just to do that. And
so what's your number?
it's got probably about a 5. I mean, that's probably about as high as it's going to get. I mean, it's just because of that. But no, let make it a 4 because give him some extra credit for actually being correct. It's just that it was being misused. Everyone was being misused.
So that makes his score a 3.33, which is the... we'll make it 3.3. I'm only going to get a... No, 3.33. Makes him... This was his 3rd highest score so far. He's still beat out in The Naked Now and then big time in Where No One Has Gone Before. Who was your annoyance this episode?
For me, it was between Picard and Riker, and I went with Picard.
Picard?
Yeah.
Keith?
I felt like his character got abused the most.
Yeah.
I'll have to come back to that. I need to think about that for a minute.
I'm going to go with the entire senior staff.
Well, I guess if that's a possibility.
Sure
then,
it is.
Yeah.
You can be whatever you want.
It just that didn't make any sense. So I still had a couple things left.
Sure, go
sort of
for it.
lore things. He reminded me of a couple other villains. Most prominently would be Brainiac, from DC.
Uh-huh.
That was the character's motivation was to gather human knowledge and to sort of exterminate them afterwards for the value of it.
As you do.
Yeah, it's like why stop at 411? Let's get them all. And they're just
Yeah.
like we don't need them. Reminded me of Clockwork Orange when he said, "A report of great detail and accuracy," just like the way he would, sort of the way that the Alex, the narrator, would talk to adults. And
Any other notes?
no, I guess I'm going with senior staff then.
Okay. Man, women of Star Trek, you gonna stick with female Khan, Stephen, or did lore do it for you? Or the crystalline entity?
I'm going to stick with female Khan.
Keith, I know the crystalline entity has to be
It's...
competing with the generic harp girl that you can't remember which one you liked better.
I'm actually going to go with lore.
You gonna go with lore?
Yeah.
Okay.
He amused me that much.
I'm gonna stick with Luxiana Troy for now. And then ranking this episode. Oof. We have to rank it on where it actually is, not where it should be. And I do think it's probably going to get a higher ranking than it deserves because Brett Sminer's performance was so amazing.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to put it in the upper half just because of Brett Sminer's performance.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, I came into this excited to see it for the reasons, and for the reasons I wanted to see it. It was good.
Yeah.
But then all the things
Everything
I've
else,
forgotten about,
yeah.
I guess, were just.
So what's
down.
our midpoint right now?
Midpoint right now would be Justice, where Wesley gets in trouble for crossing the barrier.
I enjoyed that one actually, but
I liked that one.
Yeah.
Ooh, that one was a little boring though, and Brett Spiner was so entertaining. But Justice was a better put together episode, I think. I would put it below Justice.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't want to put it below Justice, but I would put it below Justice. If we go 2 down, and I think this is a good range. 2 down is Hiding Q, and I definitely think it's better than that.
Oh. Yeah, that was the last Q episode, right? We just did.
Yeah, where he gives Riker powers. That was very good.
Yeah.
that could have been better than it was. Yeah, certainly. But.
So between Justice and Hiding Q is Where No One Has Gone Before. So that's the one with the Traveler. So do we want to put this above or below the Traveler?
I could be swayed either way.
Me too. Like
Same
Keith,
here.
make your argument.
So I think the story of Where No One Has Gone Before is better, but I think Brett Spiner's performance again is what might kick it up a notch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Despite the writing, I think his performance is more measured than Shatner's was in that.
Yeah. I think if Brett Smire's performance wasn't so impressive here, we'd be looking down at like the big goodbye level of the episode.
And although to be fair to
So
Shatner on that, he was supposed to be pure animal and pure goodness and light or whatever.
He was doing what they told him to do.
He was. Yeah, that was the right.
Next week we'll be doing Angel 1, which I don't have a good memory of. Riker, Troy, Data, and Yar beam down to a planet ruled by a matriarchal government in the hopes of locating a missing freighter crew.
All right.
So a planet ruled by women.
That sounds good.
I mean, I think you'll probably pick at least one of them to replace.
If it's anything like the cast of the animated Lorelei Signal, I'm very excited. Or Justice, for that matter.
Yeah. And the leader of the planet does take an interest in Riker, of course.
Well.
While Picard and Crusher battle a severe flu epidemic that strikes the crew.
They got rid of the cold, but not the flu?
Apparently not. Well, you know how many different variations of the flu there are.
I suppose.
They've probably gotten rid of some of them.
Well, they did say they just got rid of the common cold. But what about the other colds?
Oh, the uncommon cold.
There you go.
And even worse, the rare cold.
That's what I'm talking about.
Anyway, until then, thank you very much, Chris Allen, for editing this podcast. We really need to make more of an effort to thank
We
him every
do.
episode.
We do.
He does a fantastic job, and we appreciate it.
I think of him every time I listen to an episode. I'm like, that sounds a lot better than I remember it.
And we're always like, cut this, Chris. And I'm sure you don't hear that because he cuts it.
Yes.
But we really appreciate the work he does.
Yes, we do.
It would be funnier if you did hear it, but
Maybe leave one in this time.
No.
Well, we did just then. You just said cut.
Oh, my God. Until next time, live long.
And prosper. Cut this, Chris.
And watch out for... No, you can't cut that. And watch out for guys with facial tics.
It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?